Hey everyone, regardless of how you want to look at it, the MEG 2 The Trench is a Chinese movie. Sure, it might have a British lead, a Spanish bad guy, and a few Americans in the good guy camp, but two of our main three leads are Chinese, and the movie is set in or around the coast of Southeast China. Then there's the fact that the movie follows the Chinese monster movie MO to a T. That is, that the monsters are actually the side focus of the movie. The real villains are always the humans. Rich, greedy, selfish humans. And almost always they're doing something bad to the environment. It's kind of like the original Godzilla playbook. Kind of. So if the MEG 2 The Trench has left a bad taste in your mouth, let me present to you 5 Chinese monster movies that are actually quite fun, and don't push the social message narrative that strongly. These movies focus more on the monsters or the creatures, and that's what makes them more fun. In no particular order, and not keeping this exclusive to shark movies, let's check out 5 Chinese monster movies that are potentially better than the MEG 2. This movie is a prime example of how insane and entertaining Chinese monster movies can actually get, and it has a plot so ridiculous that even the asylum would stand up and applaud how crazy it is. First, let's get the forced message out of the way. Breeding animals for the purpose of making luxury goods is evil. I think we can all agree on that one, so nothing too dramatic. Here's the plot though. Set in a remote valley, an underground laboratory is breeding snakes for the purpose of making leather handbags. But the scientists have experimented too much and created a massive constrictor that goes on a rampage. Where does it go on that rampage? Well, would you believe right next door to the laboratory is a flight attendant finishing school, completely populated with some of the most beautiful women in China. This snake has good taste and decides to stalk around the campus, eating any girls it can and threatening to disrupt their graduation ceremony. But nothing gets in the way of graduating students, so these girls, with the help of a goofy security guard, fight back. In a hilarious nod to the video game Dead Rising, they create a bunch of homemade weapons out of everyday items that would make Frank West proud. Heck, even MacGyver would be proud too. This movie has it all. Huge snakes, cute girls, shower scenes, sex, double crosses, crazy stunts, lovable characters, and one hell of an ending. This is one monster movie that you won't regret watching. It makes sense to have a shark movie on this list, right? Since you're probably looking for a MEG 2 replacement, you might as well check this one out. However, be forewarned, this isn't a megalodon. This is just a normal, everyday shark. Set in a resort full of good-looking and rich tourists, a tsunami causes a tidal wave by the coast, washing a hungry killer shark to shore. A handful of tourists, including a woman and her father, a resort worker and his sexy ex, and a rich idiot and his bodyguard, are trapped in the resort waiting for their rescue. But the hungry shark has a different idea. Stalking these survivors through the resort, he slowly takes them out until they can work out a way to defeat him. But even in defeat, the shark manages to get one last kill, much to the satisfaction of the viewer. This movie is nice and short, which makes it a perfect popcorn film to watch before you settle into your main event for the evening. But if your main event is the MEG 2, then you might want to check this film out afterwards, because this one is a lot of fun. And once you've had your fill of the standard size sharks from the previous film, then you should definitely move on to this one, where a massive giant shark not only is a menace on water, but is also a menace on land. Welcome to Land Shark, a tale as old as time, where a crazy, rich scientist decides to cross shark and earthworm DNA to create the ultimate bioweapon. Okay, so this movie won't win any awards in the plot stakes, and the characters are about as one-dimensional as you could possibly get, including a drunken expert who saves the day, a super hottie scientist, and an arrogant rich man. But the movie more than makes up for it in the crazy fun stakes. Putting aside the rather lackluster CGI, which is common for these kind of films, Land Shark takes place near a tourist location full of lots of human play toys. The rules in this movie don't always make sense. Sometimes the shark travels easily across land, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it eats everyone in its paths, other times it lets whole families survive. In the end though, it doesn't really matter what this movie's about, other than there is a massive shark that causes carnage on land, easily living up to its name. From sharks, we go back to snakes in what could be one of the most entertaining giant snake movies to ever come out of the modern Chinese monster movie movement. Monty Python 2, no relation to the comedy troupe and a very weak link to the original film, carries with it a strong environmental message. Don't dump toxic waste into the water. And definitely don't do it next to the location of a luxury hotel. Snakes, and lots of them, including the massive Monty of the title, infiltrate a hotel, leaving it up to the overstressed hotel manager and his attractive assistant to save the day. Some hilarious secondary characters, including the spectacle towel wearer, who's always in the wrong place at the wrong time, and a crazy fight in the male toilet that results in the entire room getting destroyed, headline the insanity of this film. While some spotty CGI is one of the downsides, there's a great montage of outtakes at the end of the film showing off the fun time the cast and crew had in making this made-for-web instant classic. If there's one word to describe a tsunami, then crazy is probably not the word I would use, but that didn't stop the filmmakers of this crocodile film, which is more of a creature feature than a monster movie, but I'm keeping this one on the list. A natural disaster hits the party town of a Southeast Asian location, causing a tsunami to flood a Chinese district whose presence was already under threat by an evil businessman who wants their land. Enter a displaced and hungry crocodile who gracefully floats through the flooded district, snacking on the eclectic but entertaining group of survivors, which includes an estranged father and daughter who use this crisis to mend their fractured relationship. Some exciting set pieces are peppered throughout this short but thrilling movie that ends in a sewer with the massive croc desperate for a final snack. For those of you who are fans of Chinese sexpot Daniela Wang, check out her role as the main baddie's assistant, a role a long way away from her nudity-filled performance in the Hong Kong sex comedy Due West: Our Sex Journey. You're welcome on that tip. Interestingly, while this, and in fact all of the movies on this list, are made for web productions, this movie received an official Blu-ray release in Germany. Viva Physical Media for preserving a future classic like this. Now, we can't have a list like this without mentioning a few of the films that were unlucky enough to make the final cut. Firstly, Bugs 3D, China's second creature feature after $1 Million Crocodile. This has one of the highest budgets you'll ever see for one of these types of films. Made back in 2014 and starring Eric Wang, who's gone on to make quite a good career for himself. This movie is about thousands and thousands of bugs that infest a luxury resort full of tourists. Cheesy story and average effects are not enough to stop this movie from being a rollickingly good time. Then we have Rat Disaster, another creature feature set around 1920 and revolving around a group of people trapped on a train when hundreds of dirty rats break loose and cause chaos. This movie is a lot of fun and comes courtesy of the same production house as Land Shark and features quite a few of the cast members from that film too. Deep Sea Mutant Snake is about a man who goes after an evil organization after they kill his fiancée. This organization conducts pesky evil experiments in an attempt to find a cure for the CEO's terminal disease, but it leads to the creation of a massive deep sea mutant snake in a secret island laboratory. Insane's not the only word to describe this movie. This film is a riot. And then we have Giant Crocodile. And while the name might not be inspiring, the plot certainly is. Set on an island with a bunch of unconnected characters, a super soldier crocodile is being developed with one key enhancement. It can turn invisible. Oh yeah, an invisible, bloodthirsty reptile on the loose. And you thought the other movies sounded unbelievable. Hopefully this list of movies will tie you over until the next MEG is announced. Then again, there may not actually be a third MEG movie, but you can do a lot worse than the movies on this list. If you've seen these movies, or want to see any of these movies, or if you've seen the MEG 2, what did you think of it? Please leave me a comment below. press the like button and consider subscribing to the channel you're currently watching this video on. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.